My name is Ivan Cairo. Welcome to Caribbean Connect. Free movement. Could you tell us in a nutshell what is free movement and what it means for the region?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cairo. Free movement basically means that CARICOM nationals should have the right to move freely within the Caribbean community, and they can do so for two purposes. One is to undertake economic activities, and under this category, the following activities can be done. You can have the movement of skilled nationals who can move to another country to look for employment and once found engage into gainful employment opportunities. The second part under this category is that you can have free movement under the right of establishment, meaning that businesses can be established elsewhere in the Caribbean community and they can take along managerial, supervisory, and technical staff. And the third part under this aspect is the free movement for service providers. Service providers have been granted the right under the revised treaty to move freely within the region to look for opportunities to provide services, either on a permanent basis or temporarily. The second big category with respect to free movement is what we call hassle-free travel. And that means that CARICOM nationals should be in a position to explore the community to which they belong. So they should be able, for example, to go to Jamaica, explore Jamaica, whether the beaches or where Bob Marley lived, or they should be able to go to other CARICOM member states for other activities such as carnival, sports activities, events, you name it. But their entry into another member state should be without hassle. And in that context, our heads of government have decided many years ago that they should be granted a 6-month entry. So every CARICOM national who arrives at the port of entry in one of the participating states should get a 6-month entry so that they have sufficient time to explore the country where they are going.
Okay, but no, you have also been a free movement specialist in the CARICOM Secretariat. Have you seen problem? What are the problems and the hassles that still we see today? What are the main problems in this
Yes.
area?
Well, the main problems for me are the slow pace of implementation of the decisions of the conference, but now we also have a decision of the Caribbean Court of Justice, which indicated that even if member states have not implemented the necessary laws, the necessary regulations, they must facilitate uh, all the approved categories because it was a decision taken by a community organ, and the CCJ, Caribbean Court of Justice, indicated that once a community organ takes a decision in order to further implement the revised treaty or to further the establishment of the CSME, it is immediately binding at the regional level. So that can solve the problem of slow implementation because member states are obliged to grant free movement to persons who are coming. Another barrier to free movement is the fact that sometimes I have noticed that member states tend to complicate matters. And what do I mean by that? Certain categories have been granted free movement, for example, household, domestic, agriculture workers, security guards. But when we are discussing definitions for those categories, I believe they are unnecessarily make more onerous, resulting to the fact that even though persons have been granted rights, it will be difficult for them to fit into the definition. For example, if you say that a household domestic must have a CARICOM vocational qualification to move, how many persons, household domestic, do you think will have such a qualification?
But what you're telling us now, is there some kind of protectionism that those countries are applying
Um,
to maybe safeguard their own people?
I wouldn't say that it is protectionism, but I think definitions are unnecessarily made too onerous, and the result is that persons who have been granted rights can still not exercise them. So it doesn't make sense to grant persons right and they cannot exercise the right in order to look for employment opportunities elsewhere. So that is something which Suriname will definitely bring to the table during the meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government, because we don't have CariCom vocational qualifications. So if a definition is accepted with that, it will mean that Surinamese will not be able to move. And that cannot be for us. So we will indicate that during the conference, and we will request that national qualifications or experience be added to the definition. And in our opinion, once you do so, it will make it easier for persons to move. Because if they don't have a CVQ, they might at least have experience, which should be sufficient to move to look for a job elsewhere.
But
Certainly for those categories.
but through the years, has there been evaluations to see if the people of the region are really benefiting from this free movement?
Well, there have been studies done in the past. Even when I was still at the CARICOM Secretariat, a study was done. And all the studies prove that the region is not considered by many CARICOM nationals as looking for greener pastures. When persons are looking for greener pastures, they are thinking about moving outside the region, to the north, to the US, to Canada, to Europe, you name it, but not to it in the region. So we have not seen that any CARICOM member states has been flooded by CARICOM nationals due to free movement. That has simply not occurred because once again, if CARICOM nationals think about greener pastures, they think about moving outside the region and not within the region.
Okay. As of the 1st of July last, Suriname has abolished visa entry obligations for all nationals in the world, all countries. If you want to come on vacation in Suriname, you don't need a visa. You just arrive at the airport or port of entry and you pay for your entry fee.
Yes.
That means that if people from all over the world can come to Suriname, a CARICOM nation, they could go also to other CARICOM member states.
Yes.
Wouldn't this be a problem in the context of free movement?
No, it doesn't have to be a problem because many CARICOM member states are already accepting third nationals, as we call them, nationals from third countries without visa in their respective countries. A person from, I name just a few, a person from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, usually they don't need a visa. Other persons from Europe usually don't need a visa. It's only for selected countries that CARICOM member states still have visa restrictions in place. So what Suriname has done will have no impact as such on most CARICOM member states.
Okay. Now we should chat about youth affairs. That's also in the portfolio of Suriname. Regarding to these matters, how how do youth benefit from all the aspects
Yes.
of this CSME?
Well, the youth should be able to benefit from the CARICOM single market by having more opportunities to move freely in the region. Uh, if they have graduated, they can look for employment opportunities in the CARICOM single market. If they want to provide services, as indicated before, they have a market to which they can provide the services. But other than that, there are also other ways in which the youth can benefit through hassle-free travel. They can explore the region to which they belong. They can ensure that they have connections with their counterpart in different countries. They can organize conferences to discuss youth development. So there are lots of possibilities for youth in the CARICOM single market and economy.
But so far, are youths, are they being how should I say it, um, being called to deliver what we should say their input in the policies that has been put out there for them?
Well, certain member states have established structures in order to facilitate youth participation. Suriname is one of them. I know in Trinidad you have it too. I believe in Barbados and Jamaica too. From the others, I'm not so sure. But more and more countries recognize that we need to facilitate the youth, enable them to give their views on matters of development, because I indicated it just now during the meeting of the Conference of Heads too, when we were discussing youth matters, that we have so often affirmed that the youth of the Caribbean is its future, but also its present. And that means if the youth is the present, that we need to do everything to ensure that their views are being incorporated into policies, to ensure that their views are being heard, and but also to ensure that they are also mobilized to contribute in different ways to the development of policies, but also to the implementation of those policies. So what we need to do, we need to engage the youth in various matters and ensure that they can really contribute to development.
So the call from the new Prime Minister of Grenada, Mr. Mitchell, is not a lost call?
No, it has never been a lost call, because even before his election, we had a CARICOM Commission on Youth Development, which makes several recommendations. An action plan was developed. Countries must still implement that action plan. So there always have been some work done on youth development. It's now that what has been indicated during the opening ceremony, that we don't just talk, but ensure that we do concrete steps in order to facilitate the youth development actions in the region.
Thank you so much, Mr. McAndrew. And this was Caribbean Connect until the next edition.